Everyone loves a good pizza, and there's nothing better than a thin, crispy base and the delicious smoky flavour you get from an authentic wood-fired oven. These bad boys handle temperatures of over 400 degrees and cook a pizza to perfection in just a couple of minutes. But they don't come cheap. Shop bought will set you back anywhere between £600 and £1,500. So I've come up with a DIY version that's fun to build and at a fraction of the cost, around £100. The secret of cooking an amazing pizza is heat and speed. And I'm going to show you how to get restaurant results in your own back garden by using plant pots. These terracotta pots can withstand really high temperatures, so are perfect to replicate an Italian-style clay oven. You can pick them up from most garden centres or bag yourself a bargain at an online auction site or free cycle. Just make sure that they aren't cracked. One inside the other to make a really thick wall. All I've got to do now is cut some holes. Grab your angle grinder and cut a hole for the opening of the oven in both pots. Right, there are my holes cut. Time to put it all together. Start with a fire-retardant concrete slab as a base on your patio, or even build up a few slabs to create some height. And on top of that, I'm going to put down fire bricks. Now, fire bricks are brilliant because they're designed to withstand really high temperature, hence the name fire bricks. Make sure you close any gaps to create a smooth, flat finish for your pizza oven floor. And think carefully about where you build it, because once it's made, you're not going to want to move it around. Now, these guys are going to get super hot. Look at that. It's just like the real McCoy. So that's the inner pot placed. What I'm going to do now is insulate it. Using gloves, wrap a high-temperature ceramic fibre blanket around the pots. This is going to help my pizza oven reach temperatures of over 300 degrees. Cut off the excess. It's just like when you're making a pie at home. Cutting off the pastry. It's so much more exciting. Right, pizza oven ready to go. All I need to do now is fire it up. So you don't damage the pots with sudden intense heat, carefully build up the temperature in there. The best bit about using a wood-fired oven is it's going to give your pizza a delicious smoky taste, so it's worth experimenting with different woods. This is alder. Now, lots of pizza restaurants are using alder because it gives that lovely, mellow, smoky flavour to it. But you can choose any wood you want, apple, cherry, you name it. Just make sure it's untreated dry hardwood. Right, last log in there. That's going to need an hour and a half to heat up, and the temperature is going to be so hot that I'm going to need a paddle to get my pizza in and out. Right, sorry, broom. Don't need that bit. To carry the pizza, an old roasting tray is perfect. Just make sure the piece you cut out is big enough and you file down those sharp edges. Any old bits lying around, roasting tray, old broom, new pizza paddle. And bolt the two together, and that's all there is to it. There we go. That's my pizza paddle done. The fire's burning away lovely. All I need now, pizza. Now, I've got my dough, flour, semolina flour, yeast, a bit of water. I'm so excited about this. I'm going for pure Neapolitan simplicity. Fresh tomato sauce, mozzarella and basil. Don't do huge chunks of it because you want it to melt. Because don't forget, this is all about speed. Super hot, really fast. Check out the paddle. This was a baking tray earlier. Semolina flour on. Okay, that's going to add that lovely crunch to the base. But also, semolina flour acts as a non-stick. I don't know what I'm more excited about, the pizza or the paddle. Look at that. Right, in the oven. My oven has been burning away for an hour and a half, and it's well over 300 degrees in there. Here we go, big moment, pizza going in. Now that should only take 2 minutes. This is an incredible oven. Because of its shape, all the heat gets knocked around, so it's cooking in 3 ways. You've got the conduction, which is the heat from the base, and that's going to make it lovely and crispy. You've got the radiant heat, so from the sides, all the heat bouncing backwards and forwards. And then you've got the convection, with all the hot air tunneling around there, cooking it perfectly. I can't wait, look at it bubbling. It's a proper pizza oven. Right, that smells amazing. I reckon it's ready. Let's get it out. Look at that. I've cooked a pizza in a flower pot. What a thing of beauty. Fresh pizza from your own garden. Just listen to that crunch. Oh my word. You have got to try this at home. The latest food trends have seen the rise and rise of the heavy-duty American-style barbecue smokers that can be used all year round to turn cheap cuts of meat into super tender, flavour-packed feasts. This is about slow meat that just falls apart. Originating in the Deep South, offset barbecues cook the meat slowly in hot smoke away from the direct heat of the coals. The meat's got to be constantly caressed by lots and lots of flavoursome smoke coming out the firebox. Supersized models from America can cost thousands of pounds, but I've come up with a smaller upcycle version you can make for 60 quid using a pair of old sinks. I need to start with my heat source, and this old saucepan will do the trick because it can deal with high temperatures. First up, I'm going to turn the lid into a hinged opening for the firebox. So grab your angle grinder, chop it into 2, and then attach it back together with a large hinge. I love doing this tinkering, but every time I'm doing this, in my head is the theme tune to the A-Team. You know, they would get locked into a shed and be left with a bog roll, a tennis racket and a go-kart and come out with a tank. I get locked into a shed and I come out with a barbecue. So, you see how that's going to work now, can't you? The saucepan will be filled with burning coals, and offset to the side will be the sink chamber where the meat will sit. So you'll need to join these two together. You pick up old sinks anywhere. You look in any old skip, there's usually a sink in there. Ask before you take it out. There we go. Look at that. So you can start to see it's coming together. What I want to do now is just mark out a little flap. It's going to be like a letterbox that acts as a baffle. So when the smoke comes along, it's directed down and then up and around the meat. Use your angle grinder to cut the flap. It's the key to giving your meat that delicious smoky taste. There we go, you see that? To help with the airflow, I'm going to make a chimney from an old tin can. To fix it in place, cut a hash symbol along the bottom, and then wearing heavy-duty gloves, carefully fold these flaps back into the sink. There we go. Bingo. Time to put it together. This little tea trolley, it's going to make the perfect little stand. You can pick up an old tea trolley on an auction site, or any upcycled metal stand will do. Now, to light the fire. This is the exciting bit. You'll need to let your barbecue heat up before you're cooking it. So while I'm waiting, time to get my meat ready. Anybody that knows beef loves brisket. It comes from the muscle that runs all the way down the front of the animal. Absolutely packed with flavour because it's the muscle that does so much work. But with muscles that do lots of work, it can be quite tough if you cook it in the wrong way. But by cooking it low and slow, it becomes lovely and unctuous, the kind of meat that just falls apart. So what I'm going to do with this beautiful bit of brisket is make a lovely little dry rub. Add a sprinkle of sea salt, a pinch of pepper, a few chili flakes, and give it a good old rub. Oh, do you know, it's like any muscle when you're stressed, you know, you're all like that, aren't you? Nice bit of massaging, working in those flavours. Also, just releasing the tension in the meat. Tie your brisket with string and add a splash of olive oil.
Right, in you go. Oh, listen to that sizzle. Now, the real secret that's going to put so much flavour into this are these guys, these wood chips. Now, I've got sweet chestnut, which adds a lovely sweetness, mellow smoke to it, but also whiskey barrels chipped up. Lovely. I mean, oh, they smell incredible. If I was a beaver, I would just eat those right now. They're going to go in. That's red hot, so gloves on. Woo! Look at those coals. Just sling them in. Now, don't think this is something you can just leave. You've got to think of it as a living, breathing entity. It needs feeding. It's like a dragon. You've got to keep feeding it if you want to get that wonderful, smoky, kissed meat. Look, 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 look. It's going to be awesome.
This size brisket should take 7 or 8 hours to cook at around 110 degrees. You'll need to keep topping up the coals and wood chips every half hour. After 4 hours, take your brisket out and wrap it in foil.
And I want to capture all those flavours. Don't want it drying out. There we go, a lovely little parcel. Back in you go, my sweet. Right, time to get this beauty out. Whoa, come on. 7 odd hours cooking, look at it. Oh, the colour is amazing, but the smells, and look at all those lovely juices. Right, let's get into this. Oh, look at that. That beautiful, gorgeous crust, and then as you break through it, the meat just rolls away. Got to taste some of this. Look at that. It's just falling to bits. It is so tender. Oh, it's so decadent. All that time cooking is well worth the wait. That lovely beefiness, but best of all is that smoke, that smoky flavour. You don't get better brisket than this. It's meat heaven.
Crispy Peking duck has got to be one of the best Friday night feasts you can have. Traditionally roasted in vertical walled ovens, it's the tender meat and irresistible crispy skin that makes it one of our favourite takeaway dishes. Professional ovens cost thousands, but I've come up with a cheap and cheerful DIY accessory that will transform your barbecue into a duck oven whenever you like. All you need are some aluminium sheets and a colander.
Crispy duck is thought to go back over 600 years, and I'm going to reproduce a traditional walled oven, transforming this old barbecue into a beauty.
To allow the ducks enough room to hang, I'm creating some oven walls by bolting together 2 aluminium sheets. You can get these from most DIY stores.
So the aluminium is fantastic because it's really flexible, so I can bend it all the way round to fit in the barbecue, and it's going to reflect all the heat back at those ducks, making the skin really crispy.
Once you've got the aluminium in place, clamp it and bolt it together to form one large cylinder.
Now I need to create some hanging rails to hang the ducks. This is essential. So I've got these rods, pop them through.
Secure the threaded rods into place, and that's your rails done.
The ducks are going to hang off here, like that, and then roast.
Next, I'm drilling holes into an old colander to create my fire basket.
That's perfect to let the air in and get the charcoals super, super heated. Right, let's put this thing together. Goes in there.
Place the fire basket in the middle of the barbecue so the fat from the ducks doesn't drip onto the hot coals.
Look at that, brilliant.
To really make the most of your oven, you've got to prep the duck the night before you cook it.
If you want that skin to go really crunchy, follow this.
First, separate the skin from the meat.
Now, the reason I'm making that gap is because I want the fat to drip all the way through.
Then, add some white wine vinegar to a pot of boiling water and dunk your duck.
There we go. And I'm scalding that skin. Now look at that skin compared to the duck I haven't dumped. it's sort of gone like this. See, flaccid round here, really tight and springy here. And that's the beginning of getting that really, really crispy skin.
Then prick the skin all over with a fork. The drier the skin, the crispier it'll get when it hits the oven. So dry it with a fan for at least a couple of hours before leaving it in the fridge overnight.
Right, my ducks are lovely and dry. Perfect. Right, here we go. Whoa! That is incredibly hot. So, Mr. and Mrs. Duck, in we go. Now, I don't want it over the coals, because I don't want the fat spitting up. I've got a little tray under each duck. Right. Lid on, no peeking at these guys for an hour, so I'm going to get on with the glaze.
Mix some honey, soy sauce and vinegar in a pan and let it reduce down.
It's going to add a wonderful flavour to the duck, but an incredible colour. Can you hear that? Can you hear that? Tap, 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 tap. That isn't rain. The heat is causing the fat to render out those ducks. As it's doing that, it's basting all the lovely duck meat and forcing that skin to almost explode and get really, really crispy. And it's really annoying because it's one of those times when you're cooking and it's really active. You want to go and have a look, but you can't.
After an hour at 240 degrees, stage 1 of the roasting is complete.
I'm so looking forward to having a look at these guys.
Wear thick gloves to carefully lift the ducks out.
Check those out. They are incredible. That is the best thing that's ever happened to this little barbecue. Right, I've got to get the glaze on. Cover that glaze all over. My mouth is watering. You just know that this dish is just going to be unbelievable.
Slather the glaze all over, then pop the ducks back into the roaster for another half hour or until they are fully cooked.
Right, these beauties are ready. Out you come. Ah. Wow, wee wah. Rah, look at that.
Leave the ducks to rest and then get stuck in.
You know, there's no fancy carving here. The meat is so tender, it just falls off that duck. Right, pancake time. Bit of spring onion, bit of cucumber, and the star of the show, beautiful, tender duck and some of that lovely, crispy skin. Hoisin sauce. That's to die for. Oh my God. The skin, the softness of the duck, the flavour. The secrets of crispy Peking duck revealed from an old barbecue. Magic.
Craft beers made by small independent brewers have taken the UK by storm, so why not make your own? There are a few stages to master, but once you've got the hang of it, you could be brewing your own bespoke beer for less than 50p a pint. To get started, I'm using an old tea urn, a cool box, and a few bits of kit from a home brewer's supplier.
A lot of people think making beer is either really technical or you need a great big factory, there's a lot of know-how or some sort of alchemy, but you can make really, really great craft beer with a few of these simple ingredients.
Step 1 is all about mixing malted barley in hot water. This is called the mash.
Now, the first bit of kit I'm going to build is something called a mash tun. You've all probably been into a pub called the mash tun, and there's good reason for that. It's because without this bit of kit, you won't make beer.
For my mash tun, I'm using an insulated cool box to mix the barley and hot water, but I'll need to separate the liquid out at the end. So I'm adding a tap to the side and building a frame out of copper piping. I've cut some slits through the pipes so it'll act like a sieve.
Look at that. This is going to sit at the bottom of my cool box. So as the fluid drains down through here, that little frame will allow all that liquid out but keep the solid in. Right, that's the mash tun made. Time to make the mash, and for that, I need to put the kettle on.
I want to make myself a batch of traditional British pale ale, so I'm going to use pale malted barley as the base for my beer. But the beauty of home brewing is that you can experiment with different flavours just by using different malts.
Now you start adding the pale malt. Wow, that just smells wonderful. Just turn it off, give that a lovely stir before I leave it to sit for an hour to work its magic. Now, the reason I've done it in an ice box is because it's insulated. It's going to hold that temperature, and that's going to allow that mash to develop.
An essential ingredient in beer, these gorgeous fragrant hops are the dried flowers of the hop plant. I've bought myself a few varieties online.
In Britain, we've got some wonderful hops. That's why I want to use good old classics like Fuggles or East Kent Goldings. It just smells incredible.
I've got the malted barley liquid back into the tea urn. Now I can add the hops and leave it to boil. After an hour, my beer is almost ready, but I want to add a citrusy twist.
Lemon peel in, grapefruit, that goes in. And last, I'm going to add my East Kent Goldings, these wonderful English hops. And at this stage, it's all about the aromas. The hops before were all about bitter, now it's about flavour. In you go, my friends. Make this a beautiful beer.
Once the boil is complete, you need to cool it down quickly to prevent any bacteria from ruining your brew. To do this, we use a coil of copper pipe. Attach a length of tubing to each end so cold water can pass through the copper coil.
Time to put in my copper coil.
Running cold water through the pipes brings the temperature down super fast. When it drops to 20 degrees, you're ready for the next stage. Now it's all about the alcohol, and for that, we need yeast.
These guys are Mother Nature's little helpers. I'm going to pop them in, and they'll hit that warm water, and they'll start to hydrate and wake up, and they're going to convert the sugars into alcohol. Right, that's perfect. So, lid on, and you see this sticking up at the top? Well, this is a little airlock. It allows the carbon dioxide out, but doesn't let any oxygen in. That's really important. And this bucket now can sit in a dark corner, room temperature, to ferment away.
After a week of fermenting, your brew is ready to bottle.
It smells like the night after a student party. It's that real sort of beery smell.
I've got rid of the sediment and I'm adding a pinch of sugar for extra fizz. And then that's it, job done.
Here we go. Let's let the good times roll. Here we go. Look at that. That's perfect. Let's get a little production line going here. Hot off the press, my first batch of craft beer, my version of Pale Ale. Great British grains, fantastic English hops. I can't wait to taste these. Gonna leave them for about 2 weeks in storage, somewhere nice and cool and dark.
We can all cook a chicken in our ovens at home, but roasting one on a rotisserie in front of an open fire has got to be the ultimate way to enjoy a bird.
You've all seen those chickens slowly turning, basting their own juices. You can do the same thing, simply with some wire mesh, a barbecue spit and motor, some aluminium sheets, and a few fire bricks. Right, no time to waste. Let's get started.
The beauty of this build is in its simplicity, and the bulk of the work is just cutting and drilling, ready for assembly.
It's almost like a flat pack bit of furniture, flat pack rotisserie.
You can pick this stuff up from your local hardware store. Just make sure your mesh isn't galvanised.
You can start to see how it's going to work. Basket, logs, I'm going to have my spit there and the chicken rotating.
Grab yourself some wire and loop it through the holes to attach it all together.
So here's the back of my basket. Now you want that to meet just at the end here. Little bit of wire, twisty, twisty, snippy, snippy.
Attach 2 metal rods through the back to strengthen your fire basket.
So imagine those days in those big medieval courts and the centrepiece was roasting meat. It was an art form. We took our roasting meats really seriously. You know, employed young boys to turn the spit, called spit jacks, and even a breeder dog that would almost be in a hamster wheel, running along like that, and that would turn the spit. Imagine that poor dog, bred for that, bred for that. So all it could smell was roasting meat, and it's constantly running towards it, never getting there. Right, there we go, that's all tied together. Let's just pop the spit in. Wow, look how cool that looks. Log basket in there, it's going to be the fire.
This is going to get scorching hot, so make sure you put it on something that won't burn. I'm using fire bricks.
Time to light the fire.
You can use charcoal, but I want my chicken to be infused with delicious wood-smoked flavours.
That fire is well underway. Time to have a clear up and get the chicken ready. Don't want to do a lot to this because I want the chicken to do all the singing. I'm going to get the lemon, put the half lemon right up there. Bit of salt, pepper, olive oil. Oh, this is going to be so good. Got to insert this.
Carefully slide the spit that comes with your rotisserie motor straight through your chicken. Then clamp it in place and truss up the legs and wings.
That's properly trussed up, that bird. Do you know what? I don't think Houdini would get out of there. Look at that. Ready for the fire. Let's pop you on. There we go. That's close enough for now.
With the spit in place, attach your barbecue motor and get roasting.
Away we go. Now, as that chicken is turning, it's self-basting. You're getting all the internal fats spinning out slowly and basting the muscles inside. Plus, they're starting to come out, so they baste the outside. All those wonderful juices. I don't want to miss any of them. So what I'm going to do is put some spuds in a tray and end up with wonderful spuds as well.
Add a few sprigs of rosemary, some garlic, a drizzle of olive oil, and then shove the lot under the chicken. This size bird will take about an hour and a half to cook. And if you want a whole other level of flavour, you can baste it with a herb brush with all its own natural juices.
Lovely chicken, few logs. It's simple, it's so simple. But this kind of roasting connects us with our ancestors. We've been doing this kind of thing for thousands of years.
When the chicken is fully cooked, carefully remove it from the rotisserie and let it rest before carving.
Absolutely incredible. Oh, it's got that lovely wood fire smokiness to it. Imagine your roast chicken at home, the best roast chicken out of the oven, amplify it by 100 times, and that's what you're getting. It smells incredible. I've got to taste it. Oh, the meat just falls apart. Do you know what? I can't wait any longer. I've got to get in my gob. Oh. That bird has been on a flavour journey. All that rotating, the self-basting. That breast is so tender and juicy. Mmm. And the skin, oh my Lord. You've got to treat yourself. You've got to do this.
We all love ice cream. It's an indulgent, feel-good treat no matter what time of the year. But for the creme de la creme of ice cream, nothing beats Italian gelato.
I'm going to show you how to make perfect gelato by building a hand-crank ice cream machine.
This one's going to take time and a fair bit of effort, but trust me, the results are worth it. Slow-churned, authentic Italian ice cream your friends and family will go mad for.
I haven't got any expensive equipment. What I have got is an old wooden planter. I've got table legs that I've got out the skip and a champagne bucket.
This is the dawn of ice cream machines. It's artisan, it's cheap and cheerful to make, and so much cooler than an expensive shop-bought gadget.
So this is where the table legs come in. Waste not, want not.
The first thing you need for your hand-crank machine is the frame that's going to sit on top of the barrel. It's going to support the paddle that will churn your gelato, so make sure it's a snug fit.
Wedge that in. That is good and solid. Right, so ice cream paddle, chopping board. There we go, there's the basic shape. I need to score a couple of lines down here.
You'll need to drill some holes into your paddle to allow air to slowly fold into your gelato as it churns.
You can see where I've scored it down here. Just bend them back a bit. And the reason for that, because that fits perfectly in here. So as it turns, those flaps touch the side.
Using an old broom, saw a shaft for your paddle and attach them together with a few nuts and bolts. Then drill a hole through the middle of your frame so your paddle gets pride of place in the centre of your gelato maker.
The paddle fits in there in the brace. All I need now is something to turn the paddle with.
I'm using an old table leg, but any old offcut will do. And I've found an old broken screwdriver that will work nicely as a handle.
Something that was going to go in the bin now is the handle of a most magnificent ice cream making machine. All I need to do now is make my gelato mix. So let's get the gas on.
The major difference between gelato and regular ice cream is dairy. Whereas ice cream is largely made from cream and egg yolks, gelato uses just milk and fewer yolks, if any at all. So heat up the milk, then in a separate bowl, mix a few spoonfuls of corn flour.
And the corn flour is going to help bind the whole mixture together.
Add some caster sugar and a splash of cold milk. Then whisk in the hot milk.
I'm going to heat that through until it starts to thicken.
You can add any flavours you want. I've got a sparkling twist for mine.
Special ingredient, I've gone Italian. Prosecco. Little bit of Italy, little bit of luxury, little bit of lemon zest. That will really bring it alive.
To me, there's only one way to enjoy my homemade gelato. So while my mix cools down, I'm going to get even more artisan and make my very own ice cream cones.
In here, I've got egg whites, caster sugar, ground almonds, corn flour and plain flour, and some melted butter. Spread it around, little circle.
Cook it for a couple of minutes until it's brown on both sides.
I think that is ready. Now this is a cone former. You can get these in any cook shops. Ice cream cone. Perfect, ready for my gelato. So, a little layer of ice at the bottom.
Make sure you line your wooden barrel before you chuck in your ice.
Place my gelato. And I'm using a champagne bucket because all the chilliness of the ice is going to get absorbed by that bucket and help freeze down the gelato. And then I've got a mixing bowl here with a hole cut through it, and that's going to be my lid over the top. It's getting exciting. Bit more ice. Now, I'm going to put salt on top of the ice. Sounds strange, doesn't it? But it really works.
Thanks to the wonders of science, when you dissolve salt in water and ice, it lowers the temperature of the solution to well below zero. It's this phenomenon that's allowed people to make artisan gelato for well over 100 years.
Now, there is a temptation just to turn this paddle really fast, thinking it's going to hurry the whole process up. But it's not going to do that. You want a slow, steady motion. That paddle, as it creaks, is folding air into the mixture, giving it that beautiful velvety quality. Wow, look at that already. Starting to freeze up.
To keep the gelato mix as cold as possible, I'm going to put the lid back on and get cranking.
There's something quite therapeutic about this. Listen to the noises. It's like being on an old ship.
This does take around 20 minutes or so, but it's well worth the wait. It's this slow churn that gives gelato its dense, velvety texture, whereas dairy ice cream can be anything between 25% and 90% air.
I feel there's a lot more resistance, so I think it's ready. Right, crank off. Oh, I feel like I've had a workout. Brilliant. Oh my word. That is something very special and well worth the wait. Oh, I'm so pleased with that. And I made it in an old wooden bucket. My very own gelato, a taste of Italy in my backyard. Unbelievable.
On my farm, I've been inventing loads of great ways to help you feast at home.
Where's the angle grinder?
And this week, I'm whipping up a genius plan for a kid's birthday party.
Who can jump the highest on the trampoline? Me! No, I think Louis can.
Al used to be a teacher, but has swapped school life for running a web business from home and looking after the family.
I found it a real privilege to be a stay-at-home dad just because I get to spend so much time with the children. Shall I build a princess castle, Isla? They're only this age once, so it's so precious, which is why spending time as a family is so important.
Al wants to pull out all the stops for little Ted's upcoming celebration.
We really want something special. We want to wow Ted and we want to wow his friends.
So I've got a build in mind that will add a ray of sunshine, even if it is raining cats and dogs at my gaff. How you doing, Al?
Hi, mate.
Yeah, you brought the weather, haven't you?
Aye.
Come on in, you get. The bill's not for you, is it?
No, it's not for me. It's for my son, Ted. He's just turned 3.
Amazing.
So we're having a party.
Lovely.
We're inviting a load of people.
Sounds amazing. Sounds madness as well.
It does, doesn't it?
So loads of kids running around, enjoying themselves. What kind of food are you putting on?
We're going to do traditional party food, but mainly savoury.
Right, you haven't got a pud yet?
No.
Imagine, pull back the curtains, you've got an ice cream dispenser, pulling out proper ice cream in cones.
Yeah.
You
It's the
can
wow
be,
factor.
yes, you can be the ice cream man.
I like it. And also it'll impress my mates as well.
Yes, I've got a basic idea. Good with DIY?
I'm happy to learn.
Right, OK, well, let's get going.
For this build, you're going to need a small freezer to keep your ice cream cold, an electric pump to push it out, basic plumbing supplies, and of course, power tools.
Yes.
Nice.
So, if you grab your goggles over there and pass me a pair of those gloves. Thank you. You need to put a pair on as well.
The pump is going to need a strong frame, which I'm making simply with 2 pieces of steel held together by rods.
Can you imagine the daddy points you're going to get when you turn up and you've made your very own soft serve ice cream dispenser?
Yeah, I'm going to win forever.
So there we go. That's our frame.
The mechanism for pushing out the ice cream bolts on top.
Check this out.
Yeah, OK, it's not that dramatic, but you don't want ice cream squirting everywhere.
You see that rod coming out?
Yeah.
The whole thing is almost like a hydraulic ram.
Pump done, we need a chamber to put the ice cream into.
So I was thinking waste pipe.
Of course.
You buy these from any hardware store which attaches to your drainage system from your loo. They're perfect.
Obviously, you'll be using a brand new one so that it's clean. And you can use a nifty trick with some paper to get a straight edge.
Bingo. So we're interested in this end here. It's got a rubber ring round it there, so it can be a real tight fit. This is a cap end that you get any hardware store. We're going to glue this in.
We're using quick-drying solvent cement to make sure it holds together. But glues can be toxic, so ensure that you put the glue only on the surfaces that won't come in contact with food.
So this big party of yours, is the ice cream the finale? What?
Ice cream, definitely finale.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, we've got some games, we've got some toys in the garden, we've got quite a lot of people coming around, actually.
Wow, so it's got to work.
It has to, there's a lot of pressure.
Mate, a lot of pressure. There's more pressure on you than there is on that pump, I reckon. We need to drill a hole through here, OK?
This will house the nozzle for the ice cream to power through on its journey from the freezer to the cone.
There we go.
Fix the pump into the freezer, and then we're on to the tastiest part of the build, a super simple cheats recipe for soft scoop ice cream.
So in with the frozen bananas, Greek yogurt. Vanilla extract in.
This ice cream is not only easier than the traditional stuff, but healthier too.
OK, so I reckon it's time to load it in.
I'm excited to taste this.
So am I. I'm excited to see it come out.
And to make sure it does, you need a rubber plunger, which I'm covering in cling film so it doesn't stick. Remember to keep any surfaces that touch food clean.
Right, that's in. So we put the wooden frame in first. Just tilt that in.
Oh, there we go.
You in?
Yeah.
OK, shut the door. Now, before I turn it on, I've got something for you. Ice cream stickers for the front of the fridge.
Love it.
Look at that.
That's made all the difference.
And now for the best bit.
Shall I flip the switch?
Yeah. This is tense. I'm ready. Go. Oh, there we
That's
go.
it. Soft serve ice cream, my friend. Another cone.
No, keep the tip on. That's it.
Plate going in. It's summertime. It's dribbling. Quick. You're in charge of the switch. Go on. Keep going. And the kids are going to love the sound as well. OK, turn it off. Hey, got to say, that, on your little boy's birthday, it's going to be amazing.
He's going to love it. It'll make his day.
Cheers. Oh. Now, anyone that knows me knows that I like a challenge. But this week's build, I've got my toolbox at the ready to produce the perfect solution for a global traveller.
James has got the travel bug and has been travelling all over the world, but there's no food like home.
My family is Chinese. Food has always been a really important part of our lives. Every birthday or celebration we'll always get together and have a big meal. So I'd love something that we can use when all the family are around.
Next stop for James on his travels is my gaff in Suffolk.
Why do you like travelling so much?
Food. There are places we went to. The only reason we went there was because we loved the food.
When it comes to food, what do you love?
I did a lot of barbecuing in Sydney.
Yeah.
When I cook by myself, I tend to do quite a bit of steaming with like a rice cooker. Love, you know, those sort of fresh Asian flavours.
Yeah, OK. You love a bit of outdoor cooking.
Mm-hmm.
Love the Asian flavours.
Yep.
Yeah. Barbecuing, not very mobile, is it? And you like to travel around. So I think I've got something that's going to work for you, that's going to cook your food, the kind of food you love, nice and healthy.
OK, cool. Sounds great.
Come on, stick.
My idea for James might look like a run-of-the-mill toolbox right now, but it's just the start.
You need to explain it to me, I think.
I'm thinking mobile steamer.
OK, sounds interesting.
You imagine steam's going to rise up, OK, would perforate all these areas with lots of holes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking of sort of Chinese buns, or you could do seafood. There's endless things. Because it's got all these compartments, folds in and out, packs up. Nice, convenient. Take it away.
I've got James a steel cantilever toolbox, and I'll need some wire trays, a heat source, and a bread tin that will hold the water underneath.
Cut a hole, just big enough to accommodate the tin itself, but not the lip. We don't want it dropping through. Are you all right with power tools?
I've used a hammer before.
OK, well, that's not bad. So you hold it, I'll start.
This build is pretty easy, but if, like James, power tools are not your thing, get some help.
So, there we go. That's in there. Once that's full up with water, and it's over the heat, it's going to create all that steam. So what we need to do next is to create lots of little holes to allow that steam to infiltrate each compartment. OK?
OK.
So you get drilling.
We also need to trim the wire racks.
So now we've drilled the holes, you can see this wire will fit in like that, OK? So that's where our food will go. Now, we need to sand the bottom.
Get rid of any paint that might heat up and cause fumes, but as we're steaming, the box will never go over 100 degrees.
All right. Perfect. Look at that. Beautiful. That's the paint off. It's time to get cooking.
OK.
You ready?
Yep.
It's literally that quick.
OK. So here we are. Look, got some water in the bottom. Now I've placed the whole thing on 2 bricks either side.
I'm using fuel gel burners, but a camping stove would also work well.
There we go. And start prepping the food.
We're keeping it Chinese with steamed barbecue pork buns and chili prawn wontons. Once the water's boiling and the box is heated up, it's ready to cook.
You can feel the moisture building up. See the steam?
Yep.
Greaseproof paper will help stop things sticking.
OK, put your buns in, nice and neat. So, James, from this morning, old toolbox, now look at it. What do you think?
Transformation. I'm very excited to see how this will turn out.
Well, let's see. OK, let's close her up.
It'll take just over an hour before the delights of the toolbox can be revealed.
Come on then, James. Right, do you want to open her up?
Yep.
Look at that, my friend.
That smells amazing.
Woo-hoo-hoo! Look at the steam. It's like being in a sauna. Steam to perfection. Go on, dive in. Go for it. Woo! How's that?
Incredible. It's so good. It's got a bit of a kick to it.
Bit of chilli in there. When it was presented with this, what do you think their reaction was going to be like?
I think they'll be astounded that I've managed to do something like this. And yeah, hopefully we'll get some friends round and have a lovely meal.
Mate, are you excited?
Very excited.
Fantastic.
Fire plus food plus smoke equals massive flavour. We've been smoking food for centuries, and I'm going to show you it's not just for the artisans. You can smash out some seriously tasty smoked food at home. I've got two brilliant DIY smokers. One, a barbecue smoker anyone can do, and the second, a proper full-scale smokehouse for the more ambitious. First up, all you need is a barbecue, a plant pot, and a bunch of herbs.
You can turn your barbecue into a really effective smoker just by using a few little tricks.
So I've got hot coals, some sizzling cooked chicken, then grab your herbs.
Fennel, sage, dry grass. Bucket of water, get it all in there like a sponge. Moisture off. So you can see all that steam and smoke is drifting off. I want to capture that. Do that simply with a plant pot. There we go. Look at that. You've got a smoker. How simple is that? It's like sitting by the best campfire in the world. What a beautiful sight.
And after just 20 minutes, it's done.
That smoke has done its magic. It's taken all the essence of those herbs and the grasses, all that flavour deep into the chicken.
Hot smoke, super easy. But if you want to step it up to the next level, you need to build a full-scale smokehouse. I've got some old whiskey barrels, a few tools, and a hose.
This is going to be my smoke chamber.
I'm making one using large barrels, but you could use anything you like, from a small cupboard to an old filing cabinet. You're looking for a chamber to contain the smoke, and the next element you need is a freebie you can rescue from your rubbish.
Just need to make my smoke generator, which is so complicated. Takeaway tin, that is it.
This simple box will hold the wood chips I need to create a long, slow smoulder of smoke. To create the airflow, bang a few holes into the box and the lid.
A little bit of apple in there.
You can create all kinds of bespoke flavour combinations.
Lots and lots of small chips of oak. Bingo, job's a good one. That is my little smoke box, ready to go.
Grab a mini barbecue
Ta-da!
and sit the box onto the hot coals.
That heat will start those chips inside starting to smoulder. They'll get hotter and hotter and release all that lovely smoke. And smoke is made up of vapour, so the vapour rises and it contains those lovely flavour compounds. And as it hits your fish or your meat, it reacts with the surface and it starts to drive that smoky flavour deep into the meat.
Cold smoking is where it's at for really deep smoky flavours. The food sits in smoke for hours, even days. So I need to create a long, slow smoulder that will last.
I'm using lovely old whiskey barrels, but any large container will do.
Because I want to supersize my smoker, I'm stacking 2 barrels to double the capacity.
Look at that. That is a thing of beauty. I've got 2 lovely chambers there. Now, that's smoking away lovely. And I simply connect 2 barrels like that.
The long pipe will allow the smoke to cool before it reaches the food.
Here it comes. It's like top of the pops. There comes the smoke. Let's pop that in. It's going to fill this barrel up and then move to this barrel.
All I need to do now is get the food in.
Nice bit of cheese. Stick the brie in first. Here you go, you sit on a bit of muslin there.
Because it's cold, the smoke won't cook or alter the food. It just infuses it with loads of flavour.
Bit of sausage action in there.
I've also got some fish that have been cured overnight in salt.
In you go, Mr. Whiting.
Oh, they look awesome.
And for good measure, I'm experimenting with a few wild cards too.
Lovely garlic, nuts, bananas. Delicious just to eat as they are, but also to do other stuff with. Basically, anything you want to, have a go at smoking. Door shut, leave those little beauties to smoke away.
I'm not interested in home-brewed scrumpy. I want to go all out and make sparkling cider, a great British drink to rival champagne. I'm going to build my own cider press, and for that I need some timber, some tools, an ordinary car jack and a paint mixer. I'm bolting the timber together into a square frame, like this.
I've got to build a strong brace because there's going to be a lot of pressure involved.
The gear to build my cider press is coming in around 40 quid. It's going to be simple but effective.
What I need now is the midsection, which fits in like that. And I've got some wooden discs that are going to act as partitions and have layers of pulp in between. And on top of that, a couple of blocks. Should sit like that. And then the little gizmo that's going to put all the pressure down on this and squeeze the juice out of the pulp. Car jack.
Straight out of the car boot and onto my frame.
There we are.
This will create all the pressure I need. What will happen is the apples will go here at the base and the car jack will press all that lovely juice out. Now to get picky with my apples. You can make cider using cooking apples, like this lovely Bramley, and eaters like Galas or Cox's. Now I need 1/3 cooker, which is really sour, to 2/3 eater. Sweet. That balance between the sour and the sweet really works. The apples need a proper mash-up before I can press them. And that's where the paint mixer comes in. And it fits onto any drill. Bob's your uncle.
Let's give it a go. Whoa, whoa. You need strong thighs for this. That worked a treat. Look at that. Wonderful. And that pulping process has smashed up the structure of the apple, increased the surface area, it's broken down the cell walls. It is ripe for the pressing. I'm using the midsection of a bucket. Nice big muslin cloth. Look at that. Fold over your corners. Ta-da! A wooden disc on the top and start the whole process again.
To make 6 bottles of sparkling cider, I need to crush about 9 kilos of apples. Time to crank up the car jack.
Right. Listen to that. I'm really quite proud of this.
To sterilise the juice, I'm adding a home-brewed tablet that will kill off any bacteria. Just pop the lid on and leave overnight.
Now it's time to add these guys. One of the most important organisms known to man, yeast.
The yeast feeds on the sugars in the apples, breaking them down and turning them into alcohol. Keep checking on it, and after 3 weeks, you should have a batch of your own homemade cider.
Yes, it's a little bit bitter. You might want to add a little bit of sugar to it, but it's drinkable. That's not bad at all.
To turn this rustic scrumpy into an elegant fizz, I need to give it the champagne treatment. A second fermentation in the bottle to generate the bubbles.
Cider with a champagne twist. That's exactly what I'm going to do.
So, to kickstart the fizz, I need to add another dose of yeast and sugar.
That yeast, it's going to produce lots of carbon dioxide. And the reason we use this bottle, because it's so thick, if I just use a conventional bottle, it would explode.
These bottles need to lay down for around 6 months to develop in flavour and fizz.
There we go. Look at that, cork in. I reckon if I can pull this off, I can make a truly British drink that can rival champagne. And to top it all, I made it myself.
It's the moment of truth for my sparkling cider. Will it pop?
I'm so excited.
I know you are. You're excited, I'm slightly nervous, okay?
Oh, that's all right.
Now, you see a little bit cloudy because I haven't got the yeast out.
That's
but...
better than most of the bubbles in most nightclubs in this country.
So, guys, here's the homemade cider. All have a go.
The homemade cider!
Forget our image as tea drinkers. Us Brits love our coffee. Last year in the UK, we drank 2.2 billion cups of the stuff, with coffee shops turning over nearly £8 billion.
But coffee has got a hidden secret.
The vast majority of the coffee you get from the big chains and most supermarket ground coffee is roasted dark.
The reason they do that is because you're getting beans from, you know, Ethiopia, Guatemala, Brazil, all over the world, and you want a standardised roast.
However, coffee beans have a huge variety of subtle flavours, which you can only taste if you give them a lighter roasting.
And we're not really getting the full array that the coffee bean offers. But if you roast your own, you can get the full benefit of these fantastic little beans. And believe you me, there are hidden flavours in there that you didn't realise.
And all you need for a homemade coffee roaster is a barbecue and a few quid's worth of DIY supplies.
Now, I've seen coffee roasters all over the world. They tend to be some sort of cylinder that rotates, so the beans get an even roasting.
So I'm using a couple of stainless steel kitchen utensil holders.
Gonna fit them together like that, and that will be my roasting cylinder.
The holes let hot air circulate, but to stop the beans from coming out, line with some non-galvanised wire mesh.
Perfect.
Finally, poke through a screw thread rod, secure with washers, and you've got yourself a perfect little roasting drum.
Right, now I need my heat source. Barbecue. OK, heat underneath, slowly turning, super roasted beans. Just need a handle.
For this, you just need to make an L shape from 2 bits of wood and fix securely to your pole.
There we go. All ready for the beans and a bit of heat.
Get your barbecue going and leave the coals to burn down. You don't want any flame-grilled coffee beans.
OK, so here are my beans. Now, you notice these are green. These are fresh beans. You can get fresh beans online. There's loads of suppliers.
These fresh beans were half the cost of buying the ready roasted ones. It's artisan roasted coffee at bargain prices.
You don't want to wedge it full of beans, OK? You want room for them all to be able to tumble on top of each other so you get a nice, even roast. That's what you want. You see, as I'm rotating, the beans are all tumbling on each other. The cylinder's heating up. As soon as we get to about 200 degrees inside the beans, we get some action.
After about 20 minutes of roasting, prepare for action. I'm listening for what's called the first crack. This is the sound of the beans splitting as moisture and gas from inside forces its way out.
And that's the point we want, because that's when all those lush, delicate flavours start to emerge. OK, here we go. Hey, you're cracking. OK, let's get those off.
I need to get the beans out quickly because they will continue roasting and I don't want them going to the dark side.
Straight into a colander and cool them off. Oh, wow. Look at those barbecued beans.
Now, the key is to leave them to rest for at least 2 to 3 days. This process is called degassing and allows all the CO2 to escape. If you don't do this, you might get fizzy coffee.
So here are our
Traditional roasted dark espresso type beans. These are your fresh ones here. Let me place some of these down in the middle. You can see the difference now. Light, chocolate in colour. This is what you won't see in most of your high street brands. These should be packed with the true flavours of the bean, often lost in that darker roast. Now to make the perfect pot of coffee. The beans lose 60% of their aroma within 15 minutes of grinding, so do this just before you fancy a cup. And add water that's just gone off the boil, as anything over 96 degrees could create a bitter taste. So when I say I'm going to go and make a cup of coffee, I really mean I'm going to go and make a cup of coffee. Look at that. Wow, that is amazing. It's so zingy, so fresh, fragrant, citrusy. The big difference between this and really dark roasted coffee, this is spring, that is autumn. They both have their benefits. But until you do this, you've got to have a go at it. Until you do it, you don't realise the array of different flavours hidden in a coffee bean. Give it a go. You won't be disappointed. So this is a light to medium roast, and it really lets those citrus flavours out. What do you think?
Very nice.
It almost tastes a little bit sweet.
There you are, sweetness.
You don't need any milk or anything with it. It's quite nice to have just black.
Yeah, I think you actually, that's more like kind of a posh tea, isn't it? Sort of.
No, it's lovely.
That is nice, actually. Yeah, really nice.
But not a coffee drinker. That's nice.
Fern, do you want a coffee?
I would love a coffee.
Have a little taste. This is a light to medium roast, OK?
He roasted it himself.
Did you?
Yes.
Roasted your own beans?
Roasted my own beans. Now, it should be a bit more citrusy, a bit more refreshing.
Oh, yeah. Nice, isn't it? That is divine.
Well, no more coffee breaks. Get back in the kitchen and get cooking.
Slave drivers.
Cheers, guys.